paragraphs that the way I work it, like everybody does, is read it quickly, didn't see what the big deal was, read it again, realized I didn't understand it altogether, read it a third time and realized that, wow, this thing is mole chidushim. And I just actually want to, I made a note of the 10 chidushim that I learned from this Nun Zayin. And I was thinking, just if you don't mind the change of pace, I want to share the 10 chidushim, and then we'll go through the text. When I say something's a chidush, I don't mean that it's a chidush, like it's something new. I mean that it's something I didn't know before. That's what I mean by chidush. So we were learning before about ritcha, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu sometimes forces us to do tshuva. He forces us to be good. It's a chesed from Hashem, not necessarily a comfortable one, but it is a chesed. The mashal I gave last week is like a father pushing his son off the diving board, maybe, which is not, could be uncomfortable, but that's what we want, right? We always look at that as a sort of yisurim or discomforts or painful things that we endure in this lifetime. And as I always say, there's no growth without challenge, never. Nobody grows without challenge, even physically, hormonally, biologically. Everything has to be challenged in order to grow. That's the bria of the world. But the challenges that we look at, usually what we consider to be challenges, are physical challenges. God forbid a person doesn't feel well, you're challenged in parnasa, you're challenged in some kind of shalom bias. Those are the challenges that we think of. There's a new kind of challenge we're going to learn about today, which is called agmas nefesh. Agmas nefesh, I realized, is, even though we use that word all the time, a little bit difficult to translate. What's the root of the word agmas? Ayin, gimel, mem, taf. What do you say? Agmas nefesh? Pasuk in Iyov, obviously. Agmas nefesh. Nothing to do with lakes. Ayin, gimel, mem. So la'agem is to, according to the Malbim in the pasuk, la'agem is to sort of, when something deteriorates, or when something, he brings 2 or 3 examples of it, not in Tanakh, but in usage of la'agem is to mildly destroy something, or deteriorate, rust. I think he calls it igum. Agmas nefesh. Let's call it, for our purposes, aggravation. So a lot of sources of aggravation. I don't have to enumerate them, but there are many sources of aggravation. And I don't know if we look at, maybe we do, maybe we don't. I don't know if we look at agmas nefesh as a form of yisurim, or yisurim shalava, or ritcha, that we've been talking about. The chidush here is that psychological pain is also called pain. I'm not even sure how much the scientific world recognized this until maybe 100, 150 years ago, that psychological trauma is trauma. Psychological aggravation is pain. It can have lasting effects. It can have physical effects. So our subject here is agmas nefesh. That's called Yisurim, and this is what is referred to, according to Reb Tzadok, we're going to learn, to the Yisurim of the Golus of the Bayis Rishon. When I mentioned last week that the Zakanim came to Yecheskel and they said, maybe we're just not Jewish anymore. Maybe God gave up on us. And he said, no. Biyad chazaka emlech aleichem. Biyad chazaka, Chazal say zu Yisurim. And it's specifically not necessarily referring to the so many types of pain that we had going through Golos Bayis Rishon, but it's talking about the pachad and the psychological trauma that we had. Amalei Chaleichem, and this will bring us to a challenge in a better place. What is the Agmas Nefesh we're talking about? Chiddush 2. Agmas Nefesh that we're talking about is specifically, the Rav Tzadok's talking about is specifically busha. Busha is a bad one. If you're mavayish somebody barabim, it's like you killed them. Busha's a very, it doesn't say that about other types of psychological pain but if you're mavayish somebody busha, and that's barabim. You can have busha all by yourself too. We could be embarrassed of things that we've done, or be embarrassed even within ourselves. Yes? Just be embarrassed by something even if nobody knows about it. Possible? I don't know if it works with the word embarrassment, but it works with the word busha. So busha is a certain type of agmas nefesh that is not just mechaper avaynos, but the busha, think about it for a second, how simple and true it is. Busha brings us to better places. It's if we're misbayesh in something, so then it brings us to a higher level. Specifically, bushan on avera. So if a person does an avera, umisbayesh by, as the Gemara says, the Gemara tells us that. If you do an avera, so that's pretty easy. You do an avera, and you have genuine busha. I'm not liking the word embarrassment. Somebody have a better word? Humiliation. Yeah, shame. Like shame or even guilt. So, in Western culture, guilt is a very negative thing because, don't put me on a guilt trip. I don't want to feel guilty. But I guess that ba'etzem, it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's like a toothache, gets you to go to the dentist. It gets you to do what you need to do. So we're talking about now, again, agmas nefesh. Yisurim equals agmas nefesh. Agmas nefesh, the type of agmas nefesh is busha, but not busha over not being strong enough or not being tall enough. The busha we're talking about is a busha for an avera, and that busha for the avera is going to, that's what we're talking about, that's the ritcha that's going to push us forward. I'm sure Tzadok, and he says, and this was like the real astounding kiddush to me, I'm sure Tzadok, and he says, if you have busha for an avera in this world, and imagine it, not that people heard about it, just like that's some busha. So that is having Gehenna in this world, not as a phrase, as an exact term. That's having Gehenna in this world, and therefore you don't have to go to Gehenna. Cool, huh? So to speak. Meaning, here's the chiddush. Like, I don't know too much about Gehenna. It's hard to know, what that's all about, and there's a lot of mythology surrounding Gehenna. There's a lot of Christian stuff, lahavdil, surrounding Gehenna. So it's hard to know what Chazal mean when they very, very seldom talk about being somebody who's being Yoresh Gehenna. It says in Pirkei Avos, you could be Yoresh Gehenna. So what Rav Tzadok explains to us, that Gehenna is a place where you have charata. I get it. Like you do an avera, you do a chet, and you have charata for doing the chet. Well, I would imagine with all the things we know about Gehenna, you're going to have charata. I shouldn't. But like you have this week's parsha that Rishayim afilu pischon shel Gehenna lo yosin shuva. But there's a certain charata. I shouldn't have done that. That's like really a bad thing to do. That charata is the same as busha. Follow me. And that busha is what you feel. The purpose of Gehenna, I would have thought, was to give me an onesh and be mechaper. I must say that in places, right? It's for kapara. But what he's saying is that, like, how does that kapara work? Don't be superficial about this. The way that kapara works is busha. Let me just explain a little bit that, like, we're a neshama inside of a goof, and we're put inside of this goof to do something, to accomplish something in this world. That's the purpose of us having our neshama inside of this goof. We're not a goof with a neshama, we're a neshama with a goof. Now, let's say a person goes their own way, goofs off, and doesn't fulfill with their goof the purpose of this neshama. So busha, or having complete charata, huge chiddush, having complete charata on the abuse of my goof, and not using it as what it was given for. My goof was given for, my koach of mind, my koach of body, was given to me to be able to fulfill my tachlis in this world for the whatever 100 years that I get. That's the purpose of it. So if you don't do it, it's not that you get an onesh. Here's another gigantic chiddush. If you have charata, okay. Now, you could have charata in this world, that's called busha, that's called agmas nefesh, or you could have gehenim, or another way of saying it is, you could have gehenim here, you could have gehenim there. The busha is the same thing as gehenim. I'll tell you a chiddush, my chiddush, that when the brother stood in front of Yosef, and he said, Ani Yosef. So Rashi says, Chazal say, oiloi sabusha, oiloi sechalama, right? What a busha, and this reminds us of the busha in Shemayim. What does it mean? It means that when they had, in the Balei Musar like to speak about the fact that, there all kinds of tziyurim here, like when we get busha, let's say we blush, you're spayish. It's okay, in 2, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, it goes away. But in Shemayim, never, everything's eternal. That's what I was told as a child. Like you're blushing for the rest of your eternity. Yeah, oil is a busha, but here's a much more down to earth pshat. So, in pshat, Rav Tzadok says that the brothers stood in front of Yosef. When he said Ani Yosef, they had charat on the whole story. They had charat on the whole Isa, the whole mechiras Yosef. What did we do? Look, HaKadosh Baruch Hu had a whole plan over here, and he's a melech, and now he's giving us food, and he's taking care of our family. Charata. Once they had charata, huge chiddush. Once they had charata, bingo, they were back in.
So is it a one-time thing, or like this?
I think so. So it's like tshuva. There's a chiddush I remembered in the Kehillas Shivtei Yeshurun, which I don't learn often enough, but I do remember. In Perek Daled and Shar Hazahirus, B'derech Kehillas Hazahirus. Kehillas Hazahirus, how to get vigilance. By the way, this sefer, this is Kehillas Shivtei Yeshurun is a little thing, right? This is a Kehillas Shivtei Yeshurun, which is not only translated but elucidated by this huge Talmud Chacham called Avraham Shoshana, and he lives in Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. And he puts out these beautiful svarim, and this is one of them. And what he does, just giving an advertisement, what he does is the Kehillas Shivtei Yeshurun was written two ways. Originally, it was written as a dialogue between, like the Ramchal writes a lot of things, Amar Chassid, Amar, like that, like a dialogue, and then a whole story, whole piece of history. The Ramchal put it in a book. Like the Ramchal himself, took the same words, mamish the same words that he wrote as a dialogue, and put it. So he has both and shows all the differences between version A and version B, and then unpacks everything. But one of the things he says here, he talks about tshuva, and with tshuva, I'm going to read you these words because what he speaks about here is this idea. It's really a lumdish idea if you think about it. There's an idea that I don't know if it exists in like the legal world, but it exists in our world of being ma'akir something lemafreya. Like how are you ma'akir something lemafreya? Meaning that you uproot it retroactively. Like, let's say you killed somebody. Let's say you're mavayish somebody. Let's say you did an avera be'erva. Like, how are you? You might wish you didn't do it, but how can you be ma'akir l'mafreya? So obviously, the ma'isa part of it, you can't always be ma'akir l'mafreya. The damage is done. But what happens with me as a person? After I did an aver, there's a huge chiddush of the Torah that you can be ma'akir l'mafrei. That's the chiddush here. Simple pshat and tshuva, he says. Midas harachamim, that a person is given tshuva kishachota Hatshuva tinasem lechoitim bechesed gamor. Shetechashev, what's the chesed of tshuva? Simple pshat, but the Mesillas Yesharim, the Ramchal says it, so it can't be that simple. Shetechashev akiras harotzain ka'akiras ha'maisa. The first time I learned this, I was like in the middle of some k'sais or something. So all of a sudden I had like a different meeting. That somehow or another, if I'm, you can't be always ma'aker, or meaning uproot, maisa, but you can always be akiras rotzain. You agree? You could always do akiras rotzain. I could say, I wanted to do it. Not that I no longer want to do it, but retroactively I don't want to do it. Like, wow. So, akiras rotzain ka'akiras ha'mais dahainu. What does it mean? Shebahayos hashav makiras chetay. So you could do tshuva, you could say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. It's a bad habit, bad thing I do. I'm always insulting people. Like, I'm not going to do that anymore. That's not tshuva. Hayos hashav makiras chetay. The first thing is to acknowledge that I've done a chet. Umayda by you acknowledge. It's like the first of the 12 steps, you know. So you realize how evil it actually was what I've been doing. Vishav umischaret alav charata gemura demi ikara. That's the key words here. And you have complete charata. So that's where tshuva starts. And you know, I don't know what rehabilitation is, but tshuva is this very complicated thing, I think. Shav, what does it mean? Umischaret alav charata gemura demi ekara. How are my ma'aker, my rotzain me ekara? What it means is that I really wish I wish I never did that. So if you wish you never did it, like sometimes I just, you know, I guess we all have our personal experience with Averas that we've done. But sometimes we think to ourselves, like, I'm not going to do that anymore, but I did it. And, you know, I'm sort of like okay with that experience. It built me. I grew. I'm happy I had the experience. Or I've got the few $1 million now, you know. So, but wishing you never did it is not just like going on a new path of self-improvement. It's talking about mishtoikek, which is a very strong mishtoikek. I am so upset that this was already done. Can't undo it. And of course, I'm not going to do it. Hine comes out. It says in Mesillas Yesharim, Akiras hadavar mirtzainoi yechashev loy ka'akiras haneder. We were just talking about the Pledge of Allegiance, right? So a neder is fascinating because a neder is I commit myself to doing something, and now you have to do it. You have a chiyuv d'oraisa to do it. Now you want to be matir neder. So how you matir neder? Okay, how you matir neder? I committed myself to do it. So the only way to do it, because I'll explain, the only way to be matir neder is to go retroactively. You can't, in other words, once you've done a neder, you can't get out of the neder. However, you can go back retroactively, and it's kilo, I never made that neder to begin with. That's how a neder works. A neder umischaper loy. The connection between tshuva and nadarim is a chiddush. But this is the chiddush, that by having charata, and by the way, the charata of a neder always has to be retroactive. If I would have known at the time the following, of course I wouldn't have made that neder. Not that it can never be a Pesach for a neder. It can never be that, well, things have changed. It's not good enough, or there's new circumstances. The world is different. A neder has to be a Pesach that I wasn't in my full mind at the time of the neder. So what I'm doing is retroactively, says the Mesillas Yesharim, changing my ratzon, and by changing my ratzon, it's as if I never made the neder b'kulon is charabna b'hoin, right? That's what we're saying. I'm having charata gemura. It's called nidre. Having charata gemura, and that's an akira l'mafreya. To me, I never chopped it so much, and that's what tshuva is also. So tshuva and neder is the same idea.
saying that he's changing lazy to shogeg? Or is he saying literally it's plucked out, it's like it never existed? The only thing that exists is the consequence still exists, but
my Ratzon is not here. Why? No, it's talking about it's nothing. It didn't happen. Not so like a schuyas, but
shogeg is not even there.
Okay. Right now, what we're talking about is you can erase something. You can erase Control Alt Delete. You can erase something. How do you erase it? Because the way I understand it, the Ikar is the Ratzon anyway. Meaning the main thing is our. I don't know if I'm right about this, but I think the main thing is like, am I a good person? Am I a bad person? Like, am I doing the Ratzon Hashem, or am I not doing the Ratzon Hashem? Am I a responsible person, or am I not a responsible person? Sometimes you lose your head. So now you can go back and adjust your Ratzon l'mafreya, Chiddush Nifla. And by that's what the Mesilas Yesharim says. He brings here in the other part of the Mesilas Yesharim, the one we never learned, he writes here in the footnote, Ramchal equates the regret required in relation to sinning and the regret required in relation to a vow. The Ramchal makes this comparison, and that both repentant sinner and remorseful vower must regret what each had done in the first place. This follows the opinion of the Sefer HaChinuch, commandment number 406, Taf Vav, who explains the concept of poschen b'charata. You need a Pesach for a neder, right? So poschen b'charata, opening an opportunity for release from a vow as retracting the vow in the first place. That is to say, the vower must fully regret having taken the vow. He writes, if, however, it is only at present that he regrets the vow as a result of some new circumstance that arose, but until now he had wanted the vow to remain in effect, it is not a valid regret. A Baal Tshuva is not, that's a vow, but a Baal Tshuva is not that, okay, I lived this kind of lifestyle, but now I want to live a different kind of lifestyle. That's nice, but that's a good thing, Kabul Schar. But you don't get to undo what you did before in your neshama, in your ratzon, because that only comes like a neder. And he said, how much like a neder does it have to be? It's not just charata. But charata means that milachatchila, I would have never done this thing. That's a hard type of tshuva. Milachatchila, I would have never done that aver. That's what charata al avar means. Otherwise, it's just kabbalah al asid. So charata, I think about it. I really wish I never did that.
That can only be thought about now. With your current das.
Yeah.
Right?
You think with your current das.
Do the das we had then, but we didn't.
So spell it out. With my current das, I can change my ratzon retroactively. I don't know what in the secular world you could change retroactively. Time doesn't go back. So you can't change the Maisa. No, but I have an answer to that, because the neshama that we have is above time. And right, so the guf can't go back, but ratzon has to do with the neshama. We went over that so many times. So ratzon has to do with the neshama, and the neshama is not time bound. Being that it's not time bound, you can go back in time. Time machine.
Presumably you're only doing that because of the growth that you went through.
Okay, that's already complex. So Loishani Mischart al Davaratoy Shasisi, right? There was a whole lush of there in Shibud Rabbi side. Like Charotas Lebech Shalish Ravi also. I often tell the story, I'll just for illustrative purposes, but I remember on Rosh Hashanah, Erev Rosh Hashanah, you do Hataras Nadarim. So when I was in Buffalo, I was surrounded by Holocaust survivors. That was the Kehillah. Holocaust survivors, 90% Holocaust survivors, people speaking Yiddish, people who have been through concentration camps, and doing Hataras Nadarim, mostly men. here we do a little bit because of the story. Also, women come and do hataras nadarim if they don't have a husband being mater neder for them. But it was an old woman walked in Yiddish, and she from the back of the shul, the door opened. It wasn't such a big crowd, by the way. It wasn't. Maybe there was a minion there. We're doing hataras nadarim, and a lady opens the door, big wooden doors, and she opens the door. She says, "Rebbe mater neder." Maybe an 80-year-old lady. So says, okay, so she comes and people sit down, me and two other people, we sit down. And she says that when she was in the lager, that's the camps, so she made a neder, she's never going to throw away a piece of bread. No matter what, she's not going to throw away a piece of bread. She made such a neder. And this is, we're talking 40 years later, right? 45 years later, she says, I've kept to the neder. I can't handle it that I'm never throwing away a piece of bread. I can't handle it. So she stopped not eating bread. She doesn't bring bread into her house. Just everything to keep the neder. So, okay, she's a sincere lady. I got to think about this seriously. I can't just say, well, Holocaust survivor, butcherlach. I have to, we have to think about it. So I said to her, so what do you know now that you didn't know then that you would have not made the neder if you would have known? Trying to get this Sefer HaChinuch in there clearly. And she said to me, it was not in my wildest dream that I would have children and grandchildren playing in the house, that I would have a house, that I would be surrounded with people to throw sandwiches on the floor and peanut butter all over the place. It wasn't in my wildest dream, such a thing. Had I have known that I'm going to have grandchildren throwing the peanut butter and jelly all over the place, I would never have made such a neder. Okay, what are you paskin? So you have to say, yeah. So you have to, the chiddush of the story was that she kept this all these years. And then she said, I can't do it anymore. Baruch Hashem, I can't do it anymore. So she was mater neder. I'm up to Chiddush 5. The Gemara says, Chaye banai umazoynei. We're going to put it all together eventually. Chaye banai umazoynei. Lav b'schusa talya milsa ela b'mazla talya milsa. So says the Gemara. Chaye banai umazoynei. These are the three things you need to live. One is to be alive. One is to be able to sustain that life. And one is to be able to further that life and have it continue to next generations. If you're missing one of those three, you're missing a lot of what life is about. A lot of people don't have parnasa, a lot of people don't have children, but to have the life, you need these three things. Chaye, banai, umazoynei. Those are the three aspects of life. But here the Gemara tells us that don't make no mistake. La b'schusa talya milsa, ela b'mazla talya milsa. Why is it? What does that mean? What is the Gemara saying here? What do you say?
Banai is the next generation. That's the passing on.
Not totally in schus, totally in mazel. Mazel. I mean, truth is, you see people that make, let's say, a lot of money, have a lot of parnasa, and they're not very bright. So there's mazel. They have mazel. Certainly, you don't have to be brilliant to have children, or to be healthy. It's genetic factors. So the Gemara says, make no mistake. This is not about schuyot. It's not that you are you did a lot of mitzvahs and therefore you get to have a lot of parnasa. You see, and this flies in the face of everybody's always looking for skulas and what mitzvah should I do, especially to have parnasa, to have children. I don't know, la b'schusa tell you milsa, la b'masa tell you milsa. As the Gemara says, those kind of things, it's a mazel zach. And if no matter what you do, it doesn't work, then you're a shlum mazel, which means shaloi mazel, shaloi b'mazel. So it's a mazel thing, and it's l'chara. It's not about your mitzvahs and averos. Comes Rabbi Tzadok and he says, oh, I know something. He says, let me just read you these words. It's in the different place in Rabbi Tzadok. He says that hach mazla. This mazel, he's quoting himself here in Lisnei Leilah. Hach mazla, this mazel that we're talking about, Eino mazolis harakia sha'at stagninim yodim. We're not talking about the astrological mazolos. That's not what this mazel means. It doesn't mean, you see, we say, let me go to an astrologer and find out if I'm going to be rich or poor or have children. Right? But that's a different word, mazel. Different word. Next entry in the dictionary. What does mazel mean? It means there's a certain, mazel means zolel or lazala is to go from a high place to a low place. That's what the word means. Right? So mazla means it's not something I can control. These are things, these are pieces of equipment, if you will, that came with the neshama that went into my goof. It went from a high place to a low place, and that's where it's called mazla. Nifla, which is different than schusa. Mazla, schusa. Nikra mazel, it's called the mazel shu, hu shirish hanefesh. I spoke about this a few weeks ago, that shirish hanefesh or shirish haneshama is not like where do I stamp from, it's in real time, meaning like there's the neshama part of us which is in our goof, and there's some part of us which is outside of our goof. That's what the word shirish nefesh or shirish neshama means. That shirish comes to mashenafal begorloi b'teilot ki ein b'zeh yediyah klal. That's how he solves in that place the problem of Yediyah and Bechira. It's in a different place. Exactly what I just told you. That when it comes to Ratzin, it's in a different place. There's no Zman, there's no Yediyah, there's no Bechira. It's a whole different story. So that's what it means. Like when you say La b'schusa Talia Milsa, it's totally my Bechira Chavshus. Ella b'masla Talia Milsa means not my Bechira. That's what I give. Does anybody have any choice what kind of genetic code you have within you? How much of longevity and your abilities are totally in genetics? You can do all the exercise in the world. Not necessarily, but you can help. You can help by eating correctly, but so much of it is just there. That's what we were born with. And some people are in worse shape. There's nothing to do about it. In that sense, it's not about doing exercise, or eating properly, or even davening. Because it's not b'schusa Talia Milsa, ela b'mazla Talia Milsa. This is just this is me. And that has to do with the shirish haneshama. Mishpat shelamala k'fi protei hanefashos ein shum nefesh doimel l'chaverin. In that world, no two people are the same. B'zeh achilik, and this is the whole point, says Rav Tzaddik. The mazla, I'm reading again from a footnote. I'm not reading from the Rav Tzaddik we're learning. The mazla she'ein toli b'schusa, that there's a mazal which is not totally in schus. The agam the tarvayu tzadikim geburim b'shav masay mikol mokem etzel zem mesayer koyachosem malach melitz ayidei schuyos sheduos lahasel olav shefa. This is coming. You can have two tzaddikim. One has a mazel, one doesn't have a mazel. But sometimes you have a mazel. The mazel is totally in a schus. But these three things are banai chayim zoyne, which is like the essence of good life, if you will. Sometimes you don't get it. Even though you do the same schuyas. That's what the Gemara is trying to tell you. Like, how can you find a tzaddik has Yisurim? Because how do you find like you're a tzaddik? So fix it. Fix somebody else. Like you want children, fix it. Like you can't always fix things. So some things are a mazel. Maybe if you're a tzaddik, I don't know, but maybe if you're a tzaddik, you know what you can fix and what you can't fix, and that might be. But maybe you need a shtickle schus, and a bracha is a schus. But a lot of these things are just mazel talim also. So it's up to the responsible tzaddik, if you get that kind of a position. It's up to the responsible tzaddik to know not to mislead people. What's a mazel thing and what's a schus thing. Like I see it like a DNA. Let's learn a pasuk and then we'll look inside. There's David HaMelech said, pasuk we all know, Gam ki elech begeit sal maves, lo ira ra, ki ato imadi. And we need to unpack that pasuk just for a little bit right now. asks Reb Tzadok, what do you mean, Gam ki elech begeitz hamavos? David HaMelech said over and over, Chassid ani. I'm a chassid. Shomer nafshi. He chassid ani. Right? The meaning that we might think David HaMelech did something wrong, but he did not think he did something wrong. Isn't that what it means? And he proves himself as being a chassid and not somebody who's going to go to Gehenna. And Rav Tzadok adds in another chiddush that even if somebody thinks they are going to go to Gehenna, it's important for all of us, even if somebody thinks they are going to go to Gehenna, don't say so. Because that is what it means when we say, Al tiftach peh l'satan. What do you say? I might be going to hell for this. So the Satan who's in charge over there is, I got a live one here. So al tiftach peh l'satan doesn't mean, I don't think the way most people use it, I don't want to go through all the mistakes of how it's used, but al tiftach peh l'satan is don't give the Satan any ideas that you're about Gehenna. So says Reb Tzadok, first of all, he doesn't believe that David HaMelech, who's, David HaMelech, complicated life, but it was a tzaddik, it was a chassid, and David HaMelech is Chai. He doesn't think that David HaMelech thought he's going to Gehenna, and even if he thought he's going to Gehenna, he wouldn't have said so, because of al tiftach peh l'satan. So what does it mean when David HaMelech said, Gam ki elech begates hamaves lo yirara? Isn't the gates hamaves the gates of hell? In the valley of the shadow, how does it go? Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Gam ki elech begates hamaves. Explains Reb Tzadok, he never thought he's going to Gehenna. He understood of Gehenna in this world. Go back to what we said. Even when I'm going through tremendous busha and charata and shuva for what I'm doing, that's the gates hamaves. He wasn't talking about some other place called Gehenna, right here. And what he meant to say was that even though tzebrachen, if you will, use my word, over the charata that I have. Now, if he did on Avera, so what charata did he have? The Bali Musar say, Kol ha'omer sheDavid HaMelech chata eino ela toya. The Gemara says, anybody who says David HaMelech did a chet, he's making a mistake. So what did he do tshuva? It says right there in the Tanakh, he did tshuva. So what did he do tshuva? So the answer is he did it. This is Bali Musar say, he did it for the Kol ha'omer. He did something not for the chet. He did something which disappointed people. He did something which was maris ayin. He did something which was like not right on some human level, misunderstood. So for that, he says he does tshuva, but not for the chet. The chet he had worked out. But so gam ki elech begates hamaves. Look how beautiful this is. Rav Tzadok's chat that. Even when I'm going through this tahalich of busha and charata and even atzfus, even depression, over what I did, gam ki elech begates hamaves lo yirara. I fear no evil. What does it mean he fears no evil? Because eina shchina shari, says Reb Tzadok, ela mitoch simcha. So when you're not besimcha, you really need to be afraid. We went through this in Nefesh Chaim over and over again, that a person has the controls, you have the buttons to push. So if you go into something scared and upset and depressed, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That will happen. So when you go into a challenging situation, you got to put a big smile on your face and go, and that's why. Why? Because eina shchina sharui, because it's a Gemara, because the Shechina, which gives you that success, is only with you if you're besimcha. So how's the Shechina with me if I'm not besimcha? If I'm doing tshuva, I'm wearing sackcloth, I'm fasting, I'm rolling in the snow according to the early Rishonim. I'm rolling, we don't do this stuff anymore, but like inflicting myself with Yisurim. So where's my simcha? So this is what David HaMelech said. Gam ki elech begates almavis, and I don't have the Shechina with me. Lo ira ra, I fear no evil. Ki ata imadi, because I know that even though you're not with me, you're next to me. Ki ata imadi, on which Rav Tzadok is Meirich, which we'll get into, the different places for the Shechina to be in our life. I will say it bekitzer, because please remember all these yisoidus that I'm saying, and then when we learn it, we'll be able to learn it. But there's three bechinos of Shechina. There's ani ata v'hu. Ani ata v'hu. And you find three lashonos in Tehillim. You can find where I am a direct carrier of the Shechina, if you will. You can find that I'm not. If I'm not besimcha, the Shechina, and this has to do with the Mishkan, and this was the point of the Beis HaMikdash, to bring the Shechina v'shachanti b'soichem, to bring the Shechina right there. You want the Shechina right there. That's why we want the Beis HaMikdash. That's why we want the Mishkan. Gives us the Shechina on the spot, real, live Shechina. If that's not happening like now, but let's say here in Golos, I guess now too. Now you get it's like now. Look, you open the news, and people died. That's permanent. People died, like good people died, fighting for Eretz Yisrael and fighting to save our lives. So I don't think that's Hashras Hashchina per se. I don't think that's what the Navi is talking about when he talks about complete Hashras Hashchina. That's Gates HaMavos. For them, for us, that's Gates HaMavos. Le'ira ra ki ata imadi, it'll be okay. Ki ata imadi, I know Hashem is here. So that's in the Bechina of Ata. So there's Ani, there's Ata, this is the side of what we say in Hashanah, Ani v'hoi, Hoshiana, Ata Elokeinu. There are different lashonos of where the Shechina is in terms of the Yeshua's Hashem. And then there's who. So who, Ani, Ata, who. So what's who? What do you say, Danny? What's who? So he says, Tzadok says, that's the Shechina b'mufshat mimenu. It's removed. Hashem is always there, but it's removed in the sense that it's a concept. It's a concept. I get it. Do I feel it within myself? Do I feel that you're standing next to me the whole time? It's like, it just reminds me of like, where, everyone, like, where was God in the Holocaust? I remember like years ago when we were closer to the Holocaust, I could be teaching Hilchos Muksa and somebody would raise their hand and say, yeah, but where was God in the Holocaust? I don't know if they thought they're like challenging me. I got a good one for you, Rabbi. Like people love to do that. Or it was bothering them. I don't know, I'm not judging, but you hear different answers, Where was God in the Holocaust? Probably the smart answer is, I don't know. That's probably the right answer. But, like Elie Wiesel used to say, it was right next to me the whole time. Another person say, look, I was saved. I survived. The Shechina. I don't know. But I'm just taking as an example, where's God? Ani, Ata, who? I believe the Goin says, Ein Kelokeinu. Read the Ein Kelokeinu, Mi Kelokeinu, Ata Elokeinu. The Mi Kelokeinu is who, and Baruch Elokeinu is Ani, like a bracha. You see, we work like that, the same thing when we say bracha. Baruch Ata Hashem. So you go from deep inside to next to me to Mufshat Elokeinu. It's like a general term. So Baruch is the closest one. The Goin says it in brachas, how to make a bracha. And then me, Kelokeinu, me. Like who is that? What is that? It's b'mufshat. Tzadok says, Fascinatingly, with this I will end, and next week we will go through the whole Nun Zayin properly. See, by the way, here's a good example, 9. Shivchi kamayim libech. So am I happy or not? Not happy. Noichach pnei Hashem. I'm standing in front of Hashem. That's ibadi. So you have to be medayik. We have to all be medayik in the lashonos of the placement of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the mikum of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whether it's ani ata v'hu. So he says whenever we talk about Hashem as who, we're talking about the Holy One, HaKadosh. And when you're talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu as being part of our life, Hashem being part of our life, that's Baruch Hu. So I heard from Moshe Shapiro all of his own. He explained that you don't find the words, the term HaKadosh Baruch Hu until the Chorban Bayis. So he asked, you find a lot of names for Hashem, but there wasn't enough names for Hashem. You had to invite the new one, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kudsha Brichu. And then it took off, like we like it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Like, there's a lot of names for Hashem, right? Punish Loilam, Eberster, Hashem, we have a lot of words. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, I don't know when everyone decides which name to use for God, but HaKadosh means Mufshat. Rosh Shapiro explained to us that when we went into Galus, like there was not a clear placement. The Shechina we didn't have because we were in Galus. We weren't in Eretz Yisrael. We didn't have the Beis HaMikdash. It was all of a sudden we were challenged. The Bnei Yisrael were challenged. Am Yisrael was challenged to be able to make some kind of a connection between Hakadosh and Baruch, and who? Hakadosh Baruch Hu, which is Ani Ata V'Hu. So Hakadosh is who is Mufshat Lagamri. Hakadosh is Ata in front of me, like you're not me. Harei At Mikudesh Atzli, and like kind of like separate. And then Baruch Hu is Ani. So that was the three bechinas of Golus. Where was God in the Holocaust? Where is Hashem in this kind of a situation? So Ani Ata Hu Ein Kelikenu. This is the kavanah of Michalikenu, Ata Hu Elikenu, and the Baruch Elikenu. This is the three kavanahs that we have to have. I apologize for giving so much hakdama because the piece itself will take us just a couple of minutes now, unless I repeat this whole thing next week, which I'm to type, so don't let me do that. But I just there's something very interesting, bizarre saying. Like people are medayik that the first Ramah says, you hear this in the Siyumim of Mishnah Berurah, the first Ramah it brings Shivisi Hashem L'negdi Samid. That's the first Ramah in Orach Chaim. What's the last Ramah in Orach Chaim? Toiv lived Leyv Mishta Tamid. Tells us Purim. Toiv lived Leyv Mishta Tamid. So people are saying that the Ramah, everyone has another vart on it. Like the Ramah starts. It's also interesting if we go to the Ramah at the end of the whole Shulchan Aruch, but let's not do that right now. But the people are medayik. They have all kinds of divrei Torah about starts with Shivisi and ends with Simcha. Okay, you can say whatever drasha you want when you make a siyum on Shisha Sidrei Mishnah Berurah. But I just want to tell you my Torah here, that Shivisi Hashem L'negdi Samit, which is such an important first halach in Shulchan Aruch. Shivisi Hashem L'negdi Samit, to always see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's L'negdi. Ta'ato imodi, that's Noichach. That's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I see Shivisi Hashem L'negdi Samit, it's a kavanah that I have. Hashem's in front of me. Toiv Leiv Mishta Tamid is talking about why? Because you're not B'Simcha yet until you get to Purim. And Eina Kodesh Baruch Hu Shori on an Otzuv Elam Mitoich Simcha. You can only have it with Simcha. The Simcha is after the Shisha Sidrei. You're doing the whole Jewish thing. Orach Chaim, the whole lifestyle of a Jew. It ends off with Simcha, and then you have the Toiv. The Toiv Leiv. The Toiv Leiv is here. Toiv Leiv mishtatam. It doesn't mean you should always drink. It means you should be b'simcha. So when you're b'simcha, you can have the Shechina Shari Mamish Anas. Look, if there's any takeaway that I have for myself, for you, from this is that, like the one thing we should work on is, I think, the simcha indeed, because Hashem tzilcha yad yaminecha, like Kadosh Baruch Hu's shadowing us a lot and doing what we do, and so it's kemayim panim al panim. So the idea here is that if we can feel like the Shechina is b'soichenu, like you walk into a room and you feel like I'm going to take that neshama, that church neshama, bring it into my goof and bring it out to everybody here, and that's going to be with a big simcha, then so be it. So you have it. You have that. Then you have that simcha, and you have that or that can happen. That's the goal of life. So that's the real that's how you bring down that or into this world, and you turn it from. But first, it becomes an ani, and then I become that person, which is Motzidir. Okay, thank you very much.